In 2016, a Japanese cell biologist won the Nobel Prize in medicine. What he discovered had been happening inside your body your entire life, without you knowing it. He called it autophagy, from the Greek, self-eating, and what he proved, in research now cited in over 40,000 published papers, is this. Your cells have a built-in recycling system. When properly activated, it dismantles damaged proteins. It clears out broken cellular machinery, and it destroys the pre-cancerous and cancerous cell material your body produces every single day. The problem is this. The same daily habits that dominate after age 60, 3 meals a day, elevated insulin, no fasting window, are the exact conditions that shut this system off. Doctors were wrong about fasting. It is not just a weight loss tool. It is the most powerful switch your body has for its internal cancer surveillance system. Your doctor probably knows the word autophagy. They almost certainly have not told you how to turn it on with food. Today that changes. I am Dr. Laura Candy. I am a licensed physician with 15 years of clinical practice focused on cellular aging and cancer prevention in women and men over 50. Every week, I review primary research so that you do not have to. And 15 years of clinical practice showed me this. The gap between Nobel-winning science and what actually reaches patients in a 5-minute appointment is wider than most people realize. Autophagy is the textbook example. The Nobel Committee awarded the 2016 prize to Yoshinori Ohsumi for his work on the autophagy pathway. Harvard Medical School expanded that research to human aging. UCSF demonstrated how dietary timing modulates the same mechanism. And TU Graz in Austria documented the specific compounds that activate autophagy in living human tissue. The doctors who have seen you for 10 minutes in the last 6 months almost certainly have not described any of this. Not because they do not care, because the system does not teach it. Today you are hearing it from someone who does. Here is what autophagy actually does inside your body, and why this matters for cancer prevention specifically. Every cell in your body produces damaged proteins, broken organelles, and small amounts of pre-cancerous material every single day. The amount accumulates with age. By 60, the load is significant. Autophagy is the cellular cleanup process that destroys this material. It identifies damaged components, packages them into structures called autophagosomes, fuses them with lysosomes containing digestive enzymes, and breaks the damaged material down into reusable building blocks. Think of it this way. Imagine a kitchen where the trash never gets taken out. Food rots, the smell builds, eventually pathogens find their way in. The kitchen does not work anymore. That is what your cells look like when autophagy is suppressed. Clinical studies showed that the master switch controlling autophagy is a protein called mTOR. When mTOR is active, autophagy is off. When mTOR is suppressed, autophagy is on. And mTOR is activated by one thing more powerfully than any other input: insulin. Every time insulin spikes, autophagy stops. Every single time. No exceptions. 3 meals a day, with snacks, sustains elevated insulin for most of the waking day. The autophagy switch sits in the off position. The cellular cleanup does not happen. The damaged material accumulates. Those who do not know this are sleeping on what may be the most powerful longevity intervention ever validated by Nobel Prize-level research. Today that changes. By the end of this video, I am going to tell you the one specific thing you can add to your morning coffee that, according to a 2014 publication in the Autophagy journal, extends your autophagy window by 4 times what coffee alone provides. Stay with me. The first item is something you may already drink every day. What you may not know is that the form and the timing determine whether it activates autophagy or sits idle. Black coffee. Fasted. The active compounds are caffeine and chlorogenic acid. Together, they activate AMPK, a cellular energy sensor that suppresses mTOR and triggers autophagy. The activation is direct, fast, and well documented. Pause on this. The same morning coffee you have been drinking for decades is one of the most studied autophagy activators in the human diet, but only when consumed in a specific way. Think of it this way. Coffee with milk and sugar produces an insulin spike. The insulin spike activates mTOR. The mTOR activation shuts off autophagy. The same cup of coffee that could have triggered the cleanup process instead suppresses it. This was confirmed by a 2014 publication in the Autophagy journal. Researchers measured autophagy markers in human cell cultures exposed to coffee compounds. Black coffee in fasted conditions produced an autophagy signal approximately 4 times stronger than coffee consumed with food. The mechanism is the absence of the insulin response, not coffee itself. If you are watching this and you are over 60, pay attention to what this means. The morning coffee you may already drink can become a clinical-grade autophagy activator, or it can become an autophagy suppressor. The variable is what you put in it and when you eat afterward. 1 cup of black coffee. Cold brew preferred for higher chlorogenic acid retention. No milk, no sugar, no artificial sweeteners that trigger insulin response, and nothing else for at least 2 hours afterward to extend the autophagy window. The second item is one I rarely see discussed in mainstream nutrition writing, despite published human trial data showing it activates autophagy at a measurable level. Wheat germ, the active compound is spermidine, a polyamine, and it is the single most direct dietary trigger for autophagy that has been documented in human research. Wheat germ contains more spermidine per gram than almost any other food. The mechanism is interesting. Spermidine activates autophagy through a pathway parallel to but separate from caloric restriction. You can be eating and spermidine still triggers the cleanup signal. This is biologically unusual. Most autophagy activators require fasting or caloric reduction. Spermidine does not. This was confirmed by Technical University of Graz in Austria in a population study tracking dietary spermidine intake against cardiovascular and cancer mortality over 20 years. Higher dietary spermidine intake, above 1 milligram per day, correlated with significantly reduced cardiovascular mortality and a measurable reduction in cancer-related death. 1 tablespoon of wheat germ delivers approximately 0.7 milligrams of spermidine. 2 tablespoons crosses the dietary threshold the data supports. Add it to yogurt, oatmeal, or smoothies. Refrigerate after opening because wheat germ contains oils that oxidize at room temperature. Now, items 1 and 2 activate autophagy directly. Coffee through AMPK, wheat germ through spermidine, but what the next compound does is something different entirely. It does not activate autophagy. It amplifies the autophagy that the first 2 compounds have already triggered. The signal becomes louder, the cellular cleanup becomes more efficient, and the data on it surprised the research team that ran the trial. Because the compound came from a place no Nobel-winning longevity researcher initially expected to look. If you are still watching, this is the part you stayed for. The third item is dark grape skins. Specifically the skins, not the flesh, not the juice. The active compound is resveratrol, and resveratrol activates CERAT1, a protein closely connected to the autophagy pathway. When CERAT1 is active alongside the AMPK activation from coffee and the spermidine signal from wheat germ, the autophagy response is amplified. Think of it this way. Coffee opens the door, spermidine sends the cleanup crew through, resveratrol tells the cleanup crew to work twice as hard. This synergy is the part the Nobel-winning research did not initially predict. Researchers expected each compound to work independently. What they found when measuring autophagy markers in tissue exposed to combinations is that the compounds amplify each other in a nonlinear way. Clinical studies showed this in published cell culture and animal model work. The human extension is more limited but consistent. Higher dietary resveratrol intake, particularly from whole food sources, correlated with stronger autophagy biomarkers in tissue from older adults. A small handful of dark grapes in the evening, with the skins on. Concord, black muscat, or dark red varieties. Whole, not juiced. The skin contains nearly all the resveratrol. Removing it removes the active compound. The fourth item is one I would not have included on this list 5 years ago. Not because the research was missing, because it was being obscured by hype around weight loss applications. Berberine. Berberine is a plant alkaloid extracted primarily from golden seal and Oregon grape. And what the research now shows is that berberine activates AMPK at a cellular level comparable to what some prescription diabetes medications achieve. Without the prescription, without the side effect profile, this was confirmed by clinical trials in metabolic medicine. Berberine doses of 500 milligrams, taken 3 times daily with meals, produced measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity, glucose regulation, and downstream autophagy markers in older adults. The effects were comparable to a widely prescribed diabetes medication. Berberine does at the cellular level what many diabetes medications aim to do. The mechanism is the same. The molecular target is the same. The difference is regulatory, not biological. 500 milligrams, 3 times per day, taken with meals. Capsule form is standard. Berberine is not present in significant amounts in common foods. And if you have watched this far, Item 5 is going to change how you think about everything I have described so far, because items 1 through 4 are about triggering autophagy, the molecular activators, the compounds that flip the switch. Item 5 is different. It is not about triggering autophagy. It is about extending how long it stays active, how many hours per day your body actually spends in this state. Because that window, the total autophagy time, is what the cancer prevention research actually measures. Most channels covering this topic skip the timing variable entirely. The food matters. But without the timing, the food cannot do its job. 15 years of clinical practice showed me this. The biggest autophagy gains do not come from the most exotic supplement. They come from understanding when not to eat. The 5th item is time-restricted eating, specifically an 18-hour fasting window. The mechanism is simple. Insulin needs to drop low enough, long enough, for autophagy to fully activate. The activation does not happen in the first hour. It does not happen in the first 6 hours. The published data on human autophagy response shows the cleanup process accelerates significantly between hour 16 and hour 18 of fasting. This was confirmed by UCSF in research on dietary timing and cellular autophagy in adults over 50. Participants who limited their eating window to 6 hours per day, achieving an 18-hour daily fast, showed autophagy markers approximately 3 times higher than participants eating across a 12-hour window with the same total caloric intake. Same calories, same food, different schedule, 3 times the cellular cleanup. If you are watching this and you are over 60, pay attention to what this means. The food you eat matters. The food you do not eat for 18 hours matters more. The autophagy pathway is dose-responsive to fasting time, not to caloric reduction. The practical schedule. Stop eating at 7 in the evening. Resume eating at 1 the following afternoon. That is an 18-hour window. Black coffee in the morning is permitted because it does not break the fast at the autophagy level. Anything with calories or sweetener does break the fast. For women over 60, particularly postmenopausal women with metabolic sensitivity, start with a 14-hour window and extend gradually over 4 to 6 weeks. Sudden 18-hour windows can produce blood sugar dysregulation in a subset of women. Gradual extension is the safer protocol. The 6th item is not a food. It is a single substance that nullifies everything I have just described within 30 minutes of consumption. I will tell you what it is at the end, because the protocol matters more than the warning, and the warning makes more sense after you understand the protocol. Before I give you the full protocol, take 2 seconds to check that you are subscribed. Tomorrow's video closes this series. It covers telomeres, the biological clock inside every cell, and the Harvard study that found the strongest dietary predictor of how fast yours is shrinking. You do not want to miss it. At the start of this video, I told you autophagy is one of the most powerful interventions ever validated by Nobel-level research. And I told you the research has not reached most clinical practice. Here is what 30 days of consistent autophagy activation actually produces in measurable terms. Multiple studies have now followed adults over 60 who implemented a structured autophagy protocol, fasted morning coffee, dietary spermidine, evening resveratrol, and an 18-hour eating window for 30 consecutive days. The measurable changes documented in this window: reduced inflammatory markers, including IL-6 and CRP, improved insulin sensitivity, measured by HOMA-IR scores, reduced visceral adipose tissue, increased cellular spermidine concentration, and, in studies that measured autophagy markers directly, increased levels of LC32, the protein that marks active autophagosomes inside the cell. 30 days. Measurable change at the cellular level. Documented in published research. This is not a theoretical model. This is the protocol that produced these results. The gap between this published data and what any physician is currently recommending is approximately 15 years. I do not think you have 15 years to wait. And the last variable in this protocol, the one I held until now, is the substance that cancels everything you have just learned. It is not a supplement. It is not a medication. It is something most adults over 60 consume socially without thinking about it, several times a week, and the autophagy data on it is unambiguous. Here is exactly what to do. Morning. 7 a.m., 1 cup of black coffee. Cold brew preferred. No milk, no sugar, no sweetener of any kind. Fasted state. Nothing else for at least 2 hours afterward. Maintain the fasted state until at least 1 in the afternoon. This produces the 18-hour fasting window from the previous evening's last meal at 7. The autophagy response builds during this window. Breaking it earlier collapses the cumulative activation. First meal of the day. With this meal, 1 to 2 tablespoons of wheat germ added to whatever you are eating. Yogurt, oatmeal, smoothie, salad. The food matrix does not matter. The spermidine threshold does. Above 1 milligram per day, the dietary signal becomes clinically meaningful. Evening, with or after dinner. A small handful of dark grapes with the skins on. Concord, black muscat, or dark red varieties. The resveratrol from the skins amplifies the autophagy that the morning coffee and wheat germ have already triggered. For viewers using berberine, 500 milligrams 3 times per day with meals. Capsule form, this is optional. The food protocol works without it. Berberine is for viewers who want stronger AMPK activation, particularly those with elevated fasting glucose, and the most important part, stop eating at 7 in the evening. Do not eat again until 1 the following afternoon. The protocol is not the food. The protocol is the timing. The food without the timing produces a fraction of the cellular response. The red line. It is alcohol. Ethanol activates mTOR within minutes of consumption. The activation directly suppresses autophagy. 1 glass of wine in the evening shuts down the autophagy your body was building during the entire day's fast. Not partially, almost entirely. The window closes. Clinical studies showed this in measurable terms. Autophagy markers drop within 30 minutes of alcohol consumption and stay suppressed for several hours. Daily evening drinking, even moderate amounts, prevents the autophagy pathway from accumulating any meaningful weekly activation time. This does not mean total abstinence. It means recognizing the cost. If you are running this protocol seriously, alcohol on most evenings is the variable that prevents results. 2 or 3 alcohol-free evenings per week become the difference between a cellular cleanup signal that compounds and one that resets daily. That is the line between this protocol working and this protocol delivering nothing measurable. If what you heard today is different from what your doctor has told you, that is not an accident. The Nobel Prize for Autophagy was awarded 10 years ago. The dietary application research has been published for more than 5 years. Most clinical guidelines have not updated. Closing that gap for women and men over 60 is exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe. Drop your age in the comments below. I read every single one. And tell me, did you know your morning coffee could activate or shut down your cellular cleanup system before today? Tomorrow's video is the final video in this series, and it covers the physical clock inside every cell in your body. It is called a telomere. Harvard tracked 5,000 adults for 10 years. They found the single strongest dietary predictor of how fast yours is shrinking. The Ornish trial showed 5 years can reverse it. That is tomorrow. It is on the screen right now. Do not miss it.